calendar.
It was just dumb tech stuff last time. Me not noticing. That's how high tech it was.
Welcome everyone. So I'll just go ahead and get started with a little intro. So this is, these are topic rounds for Black DVM Network. This topic round is a little bit different. It's kind of like a career exploration, but some of the other topic rounds that we do are case rounds or presentations, or just talking about different areas that people might not be aware of that are happening in vet med. So topic rounds happen every other week, so twice a month. And then we also have webinars that are focused around financial wellness, professional development, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. So those occur once a month. So feel free to always check out our events page and RSVP for anything that you think sounds interesting. If you're not familiar with Black DVM Network, we are a fairly new group. Started in 2018 just as an Instagram page, but developed into a community now, and are a safe space for Black veterinarians. But we obviously have events that are open to non-members, and we do a lot of work outside of our membership. If you have any questions about Black DVM Network, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me on here, you can email us, visit the website, whatever. If you want to get involved with us as a member, you can sign up for membership. In 2021, we are rolling out affiliate membership for our friends and allies. And so we're really, really excited about that. Please let me know if you're interested in that. Outside of that, we also have job board listings and other ways that companies and hospitals can become involved. So again, any questions, just let me know. But that is who we are that is who we are as
2020 graduate.
A group.
She started the Black DVM Network.
Sounds like someone's giving an intro about me. So so any questions, just please let me know. And if you know anyone that could benefit from being a part of our community that is more like a family, just reach out to them, reach out to me, connect us, because we're always looking to find new members. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Dr. Pendergrass. And so Dr. Pendergrass is going to be talking to us today about her journey into freelance medical writing, which is so cool. When she told me what she did, I was like, what? What does that mean? Explain this to me. And so Dr. Pendergrass is, like I said, a freelance medical writer who specializes in pet owner education. She's a graduate of Virginia Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine and is currently writing in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2016, she founded JPen Communications, which is a medical communications company. And she has written hundreds of articles on a variety of pet care topics, including nutrition, flea and tick prevention, senior pet health, etc. So please Google her name if you're looking for some of her content. And if you're looking for a writer, I know she stays really busy, but you might be able to reach out and ask her to get some information to you. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Pendergrass, and I think she has a presentation for us, and then after that we'll do sort of a discussion, questions and answers type of flow.
All right, well, thank you very much, Tiara, for that introduction. It's almost amazing to hear that I've written hundreds of articles. It's like, wow, I really have been busy the past couple of years. So I do have a presentation, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I picked this title very intentionally for my presentation, and this will actually become more pertinent as I go through my slides. So I'm very excited to see so many people here on the call. When I was in vet school, I had not even heard of medical writing. So I really wanted to share my journey with you this evening so that you would know that there are a lot of career options outside of private practice for DVMs, and one of those options is medical writing. So my presentation this evening will be split into two sections. The first section will be about my actual transition process from vet school into freelance medical writing. And then the second section of my presentation will be about lessons that I've learned along the way, such as ups and downs of freelancing, making a career switch, and starting a freelance business. Oops. Okay, so of course, my first career choice was being a veterinarian. And I'm sure I'm like a lot of vets or vet students that are currently on the call, that I had a very one-track mind with becoming a vet. I wanted to be a vet since I was 5 or 6 years old. So all throughout my schooling, that was the main focus I had, was to become a vet. So I used college as a stepping stone into vet school. I attended Hampton University, and that was a very intentional choice for me because I knew that being a veterinarian, I wouldn't see a lot of Black people, let's be honest. So I wanted those 4 years at an HBCU to be around people who looked like me. And I had an absolutely fantastic experience at Hampton. And my two main goals while I was there was to graduate with a 3.8 GPA and get accepted into vet school. So I'm very happy that I was able to achieve both of those goals. And the summer after my sophomore year at Hampton, I did a research program in Kenya. It was a fabulous experience, and this will become more important as I go through and explain my transition process. So as Tiara said, I went to vet school at VMCVM, and this is how I felt on day one. I was just very happy-go-lucky, just kind of like this golden retriever, just happy, excited, just happy to be there. But then as I looked around the classroom, I had some culture shock because out of 90 students, there were only 3 Black students. And coming from Hampton, being surrounded by, by Black people, it was a really big culture shock to now be one of, 3 out of 90. And I don't know how many of you went to Virginia Tech, but Blacksburg, the city of Blacksburg is not exactly known for its ethnic diversity. So not only was there not a lot of diversity in the vet school, but just also there wasn't a lot of diversity in Blacksburg. So this was a very big culture shock coming from Hampton to Virginia Tech. So my vet school experience was the biggest challenge of my life up to that point, and it was the longest 7 years ever. And yes, you did read that right, 7 years. I think I deserve an award for the longest amount of time spent in vet school. I experienced a lot of academic challenges while in vet school and realized that I had a lot of test anxiety. So I went on academic probation several times, and also ended up having to repeat some of my rotations during vet school. And for me, it's very important for me to be transparent about that because vet school is hard. And if you are having any type of academic struggles, mental health struggles while you're in vet school, swallow your pride and get help as early as possible, because the earlier that you get help, the more that you can thrive instead of just survive in vet school. So finally, in 2010, I made it to graduation. And this is how I looked on graduation day. So this is my family, my parents, and my 2 older brothers. So just happy to finally have graduated. But then on the right, this is how I actually felt, just kind of like dragging myself across the stage, just physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. Like I just wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. So now I came to my first what now question. So I realized during my first year of vet school, my fourth year of vet school, that small animal practice was out of the question for me. I am an introvert through and through, so I didn't feel like having to be constantly client facing day in and day out, interacting with staff day in and day out. I felt like that would be exhausting for me. So I just didn't feel like that was the right environment for me. So now I had to decide, well, what else outside of private practice? And I'm not sure how much things have changed since I was in vet school, but while I was there, there really wasn't a lot of discussion about careers outside of private practice. So we learned a little bit about career options in government or in academia, but not much other than that. So it was really up to me to kind of do some soul searching and figure out, well, what is it that I want to do now? So going back to that summer research program in Kenya, that's what kind of piqued my interest in research. And then also the summer after my second year in vet school, I did a research program at Wake Forest's Primate Research Center, and I really enjoyed that experience. So those two research experiences made me feel like, well, maybe the research route is the way for me to go. So now I was on to career choice number 2, which is research. I did a 2-year postdoc at Emory University in Atlanta, and this is how I felt on day 1, kind of like that happy-go-lucky golden retriever, just yay science, happy to be here, I'm excited. So yes, my postdoc experience at Emory, it was at the Yerkes National Primate Research Center at Emory, and the research was in drug addiction. So of course, this was human health, not animal health, but it was animal research. We worked with rats, so at least I did have still, some level of animal interaction. But one thing that really got to me during my postdoc was that I was questioned about being a real vet. When I would tell people that I went to vet school, they questioned if I was a real vet because I wasn't in private practice. And that really frustrated me because I knew that I just went through 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears to get my degree. And I felt offended that people would question my realness as a vet because I wasn't in private practice. So after a couple months of just being frustrated about people asking me that, I decided to turn it into a kind of a teaching moment. So if someone would ask, well, why aren't you a real vet? I would let them know that having a DVM opens up a lot of doors outside of private practice. So I realized that it just wasn't productive to always get frustrated and angry with people. But if I could, share that there's a lot that I can do with my DVM outside of private practice and still be a real vet, that would help to change people's minds about what they envision as a veterinarian. So a couple of months into my postdoc, I realized that the research world wasn't for me, which was unfortunate because my postdoc was 2 years. But coming from vet school and having the diagnostic and treatment algorithms and things being fairly fast paced, I couldn't really make that mindset shift to the slower and more circuitous pace of research. So I realized that, okay, well, research isn't going to work out for me either. So now again came the what now question. Fortunately, as I was asking myself that, I had an aha moment. Emory's postdoc office had a career symposium that featured a freelance medical writer. And as I read her bio and listened to her presentation, I was fascinated that there is a career out there for people who love science and loved writing. So actually that day, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to be a medical writer. That felt like something that I could hang my hat on. So now I was on to career choice number 3, medical writing. So before I continue with my actual journey, I'm going to take a short break to talk about what medical writing is, because I'm sure that there may be a fair number of people on the call who have not heard of medical writing or maybe only heard bits and pieces. So in a broad sense, medical writing is writing about health, science, and medicine. And there are a lot of different specialties within medical writing, such as scientific publications, scientific advisory boards, and consumer education. So in my opinion, medical writing is a really great profession because there are so many different things that you can do within it. There's so many different ways in which you can find your niche. And also, the pie is big enough for everyone. So to me, if you want to be a medical writer, chances are that there is a spot for you and that you can find, financial success and professional fulfillment. So here is how I prepared to become a medical writer. After I told my PI, which is the principal investigator in my lab, I let him know that as opposed to pursuing a career in research, I wanted to pursue a career in medical writing. And at the time, he was in the process of writing his own book. So he offered me the chance to edit his entire book. So I provided significant editorial support for his book. And even though this wasn't exactly writing, it was still kind of a good beginning experience for me to get into the process of writing and editing. In addition to that, I sought out different writing experiences. So for example, I wrote for the Science Writers Committee at Emory, and I also wrote for Georgia Bio, which is a life sciences organization in Georgia. And in addition to those two things, I joined the American Medical Writers Association and attended their local chapter meetings. And AMLA is pretty much the main organization for medical writers. And the local chapter meetings were at Emory School of Public Health, so it was very convenient for me to attend those chapter meetings and start to learn more about medical writing and meet other medical writers. So to talk about my employed life, so my first two jobs as a medical writer were at medical communication agencies. And this is a pretty common entry route for beginning medical writers. And listed here on the slide are some of the responsibilities that I had as a medical writer. So I would work on scientific advisory boards, provide conference coverage, work on slide decks, conference abstracts and presentations, and scientific manuscripts. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of different responsibilities. But I encountered some challenges of the employed life. So at my first job, at the first MedCom agency, it was very much trial by fire. There wasn't a lot of kind of onboarding. So it was more like, here's your manager, here's your desk, good luck. So it was a very much learn as you go, and it was very stressful, especially since this was my very first job as a medical writer, still trying to kind of find my footing in this new career. So that trial by fire was stressful. Also, there was a lot of work travel, and I quickly realized that traveling for work is very different than traveling for leisure, and work travel quickly lost its luster for me. And this was a big one. There was a really big writing mismatch. So a lot of MedCom agencies are focused on human hematology and oncology, so again, human health. And even though I understood the terminology, it still just didn't really feel like a good fit to be writing about human health. And also, a lot of the MedCom agency clients are pharmaceutical companies. So for example, with the scientific advisory boards, these are primarily hosted by pharmaceutical companies. So when I would take notes at the advisory board and craft an executive summary about what was discussed, I would somehow need to turn that discussion into something strategically useful for the pharma company. And that was it was very difficult for me because I wasn't really able to summarize what was discussed from a strategic standpoint. So there were just a lot of writing mismatches for me that made MedCom agency work not a good fit for me. And also on a more personal level, I had this persistent fish out of water feeling. So I was the only DVM among PhDs. So even though we had, of course, we both had a DVMs and PhDs, of course, we have very extensive academic training. We were still coming from two different worlds. I was coming from a clinical world. They were coming from a research world. So it's kind of like we weren't speaking the same language. And being the only DVM, I didn't have someone else to speak to that spoke my language. So I just kind of felt by myself. And also at the time, I didn't know any other veterinarians who were medical writers. So it was a very uncomfortable fish out of water feeling where I just felt like I didn't really have anyone to talk to that shared my same academic background. So now it became my third what now, because MedCom agency work was just not working for me. So thank goodness I didn't make yet another major career change. So I call this one career choice 3B into freelance medical writing. Oops. So why did I choose freelancing? Well, I felt like it was the best option for me to continue with medical writing. Even though the MedCom agency work was not a good fit for me, I still felt like medical writing in and of itself was something that I was good at. I just needed to find exactly, what my space was, what my niche was in medical writing. So even though it kind of seemed like the obvious choice, I was still very hesitant about pursuing it. So this pretty much sums up how I felt, even though I knew that freelancing was going to be a good choice for me. I had a lot of anxieties and fears about freelancing. So first, I'm going to go through some of my anxieties. One, as I mentioned before, I'm an introvert. I didn't feel like I could kind of put on the extroverted hat to really put myself out there to clients to be able to get business. I love sitting and working at my desk by myself. I have no problem not talking to anyone throughout the day. So the thought of like making client calls or, those types of things, I didn't think I would be able to do it. And also, I was anxious because at that point, I really didn't have a lot of medical writing experience. When I started at my first MedCom agency job, I thought, okay, if I want to do freelancing, I'd like to be working for someone else for about 10 years before I feel comfortable going out to work for myself. So now here I was at about 2.5 years considering freelancing. So I didn't really feel like I had enough experience to be able to strike out on my own. Also, I was anxious because I didn't know anything about business ownership. I admired other people who were business owners, but I didn't really think that I could do it. I didn't really see myself as a business owner. So I was like, I don't even know where to start. How do I even learn about business ownership? So I was very anxious about that. And then I also had some fears. So a big fear was, what if I fail? I'm type A, and I think, you have to be type A to at least some extent to be able to get through vet school. And I'm used to just kind of putting my head down. If I work hard enough, I'm going to get what I want. A will lead to B. So the thought of failing as a freelancer, or maybe just not achieving the level of success that I would want, that was pretty scary. Also, what if clients don't hire me? What if they don't take me seriously because I don't have enough experience? What if they say, well, she's a veterinarian. How on earth is she a medical writer? Like, that doesn't even make sense. I don't want to work with her. And also, what if I don't make money? What if this is not financially, sustainable for me? And coming from a biweekly paycheck at the MedCom agencies, it was pretty scary to think about not having a steady income. Well, of course, all those anxieties and fears kind of put me on a negative tailspin that didn't get me anywhere. So I realized that I can't keep on just kind of going over and over in my head with these anxieties and fears. I need to actually do something more positive. So I reached out to a friend of mine who was a freelance medical writer, and she'd had a successful business for several years. And she put me in contact with her business coach. And that's why I had that listed as number one, because having a business coach was absolutely integral to me starting my business. Having a business coach helped me get into the mindset of being self-employed. It's a very different way of thinking to work for yourself as opposed to working for somebody else. And my coach really helped me kind of shift my mindset to, okay, now you're working for yourself. You can kind of picture this and design this however you want. And also he helped me understand some of those nuts and bolts of business ownership, including, office supplies, hardware, software, building a client base, deciding what my services are going to be, invoicing, accounting, just some of those basic things that are needed to at least get a business off the ground. So I worked with my business coach for about 6 months before I officially started my business. And he and I meet about twice a year to just go over, where I am up to that point and some different things that I can work on until our next meeting. So some of the other beginning steps that I took, and these are mostly things that I did once I officially started my business in terms of filing the paperwork. So I updated my LinkedIn profile to make sure that I listed myself as a freelancer. I started a business website, and my website was not so much to get clients directly from the website, but it was more a complement to my LinkedIn profile. So a potential client would go to my LinkedIn profile, kind of see who I am in kind of a broad sense. And then if they were interested, they could go to my website and learn more about me, learn more about my business, and see my writing portfolio to see if I would be a good fit. Also, I started my business bank accounts because, especially from, IRS tax perspective, it's important to have your business funds and your personal funds as separate as possible. And also, I came up with a tagline for my business, which I've kind of updated over the years as I become more focused in my business and got business cards. So, of course, in addition to doing all those things, I needed to find exactly what my niche was. And actually, pet owner education was not how I started out. So I started out offering Medcom agency services. So ad boards, conference coverage, slide decks, abstracts, not because I liked doing those things or that I was very good at them, but I didn't know what else to offer at that point because that was really the only experience I had in medical writing up to that point. So a lesson learned, and I'll go over this later, is about being clear from the start about what services you offer and being clear about what services you don't offer. So my first client experience, that's what kind of started to shift things for me in terms of what services I wanted to offer. My first client was a website that published research summaries on animal health research. So that kind of got me into thinking, all right, I think I need to just, go with the low-hanging fruit, write in animal health, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. That's the language that I speak. But then I also had a little bit of vet school nostalgia. I remembered from vet school how much our professors would say that we needed to speak with pet owners in a manner that was compassionate and respectful, and also that we needed to be able to break down complex medical topics into a form that pet owners can understand. So that just kept on coming back to the forefront. So then I realized, okay, that's my niche. Pet owner education is my niche. So that concludes the transition part of my presentation. And now I'm going to talk about some lessons that I've learned along the way. And I'm first going to go over the ups and downs of freelancing that I have learned over the past couple of years. I'm going to go through the ups first. One of the major ups with freelancing is the ability to pick your own projects instead of having projects just assigned to you. Being able to pick your own projects means that you're able to choose only the projects about which you are passionate and about, the projects that you are the most good at. Because it doesn't make any sense if you have your choice to pick something that you're not excited about or that you don't feel like you can do a good job at. Because if you don't do a good job, that's going to be a lose-lose situation for you and for the client. So having that freedom to pick your own projects, I think, is a major advantage of freelancing. Also, you get to set your own schedule. Now, me, probably because I'm type A, I still keep a pretty routine schedule, largely, 9 to 5. However, I love having the freedom during the day to run errands or just do other life things, or like I do laundry on Tuesday afternoon. So being able to have that freedom in my schedule, I think, is a major advantage of freelancing. But of course, that freedom can be a blessing or a curse depending on your level of self-discipline and time management. Another major advantage of freelancing is that there's no ceiling on your earning potential. You can set your rates to whatever you choose. You can raise your rates however much you want to raise them, however often you want to raise them. You can bring on subcontractors so that you can bring in more work and more income. So the fact that you can essentially earn as much as you want, I think, is a major advantage of freelancing. But of course, there are some downs. And one down is that there is a very steep learning curve in learning how to be self-employed versus working for somebody else. There's a lot to learn about business ownership and small business taxes and all of those different types of things that are important to understand as a business owner. But if you don't have any experience in business ownership, it can be a lot to learn. Another one is that the buck stops with you. So not only do you do the work assigned by a client, but you have to essentially do the work to get the work. You have to, of course, submit the work, invoice for the work, be responsible for all the emails and the phone calls. So there are a lot of different things that fall on your plate as a freelancer, especially as you're just starting out. Now, of course, as you continue to move forward, you can maybe, hire someone to do different aspects of your business, but ultimately the buck stops with you. And along with that, you're wearing all of the hats. So, I'm a business of one. So I'm doing all the writing, I'm doing all the editing, any emails, phone calls, invoices, taxes, like marketing, anything that has to do with my business, I'm doing it. So it's a lot of different hats to wear. It's a lot of things to keep track of. And along with that is all the admin. And a lot of this admin, like invoicing, following up on late payments, those types of things are not necessarily things that you have to think about if you're working for somebody else, but are definitely things that you need to stay on top of as a freelancer. And also, unfortunately, bad clients. Every freelancer has had them. It's kind of hard to get away from them. Bad clients, they will, one, not pay you well, not pay on time, have demanding timelines, maybe assume that you're available at any time of the day. So I've had some combination of those things in clients, and something that I've learned along the way, one, how to spot bad clients quickly. But if I do end up working with a client that ends up not being a good situation, I've learned how to professionally fire bad clients. So here are some other lessons learned along the way, and this is kind of more in a broad sense about making a career switch. So if you're thinking about maybe doing something outside of private practice, just think expansively about what you can do. So I'm not sure if they talk about a lot outside of private practice in vet school, but there's a lot that you can do. So it helps to keep an open mind about what you can do with your DVM. And so you can identify interests that you could turn into a career. For me, medical writing was a really good fit because I love to write. So the fact that I love to write, have a strong scientific background, it was almost like a natural fit for me to want to pursue medical writing. But it doesn't have to be that, but it can help to just think about what other things am I interested in that I could maybe turn into a side hustle or, a side business or a full-time career switch. Also, assess your transferable skills. This is really important because, especially as I've learned in medical writing, people don't automatically maybe understand that veterinarians can do a lot outside of private practice. So it's good to be prepared for that and know what skills you bring to the table. So for example, you have, very strong scientific and medical expertise, attention to detail, strong written and verbal communication skills. So these are all very important skills that you bring to the table, but I'm sure that if you thought about it a little bit more, you could think of even more skills. So it could be helpful to just take some time to write down what skills you think you bring to the table that you can transfer into another career. Also, conduct informational interviews. So you can go on LinkedIn and find people who are doing what you would like to do, reach out to them and see if maybe you can talk to them for about 30 to 45 minutes. So this is an opportunity for you to pick their brain about how they got started, what their typical day is like, what they do like, maybe what they don't like about what they do, how how to gain entry into that new field, which is that next bullet, determine how to gain entry into the new field. And of course, it will depend. So for medical writing, it could help to have a writing portfolio. For another career, it may help to have a certain type of certification. So conducting those informational interviews will give you a better perspective on that new career, what you need to do to get started. And also those informational interviews can help you build your network. And networking is so important because those people that you network with, that you establish a good relationship with, can really help you move forward in your new field. Also, assess your finances. Depending on what career you choose to go into, you may end up taking a pay cut, or it might take longer than you think to land that first job. So you want to be sure that your finances are stable enough to be able to handle any flux as you make that transition. Now, here are some lessons learned about becoming a business owner. And the first one is to be passionate about what you do. So I am very passionate about pet owner education. I feel very strongly that pet owners should have the medical information that they need to make good health choices for their pets. I am passionate about that when I talk about it verbally. It shows on my LinkedIn profile. I have it on my business website. So I'm very consistent and very passionate about what I do. But equally important is being clear about what you don't do. You can't be everything to every client, and you shouldn't try to be. So the more that you're focused on what you do, the better you can weed out what you don't do, and the more focused you can be with your client search, and the more clients will understand what you do so that they know whether you would be a good fit. Also, acknowledge and work through your fears. It's okay to be afraid because freelancing, that's a big step. It's a big step to strike out on your own and not have that kind of continuity and steadiness being employed. But it's not okay to stay stuck being afraid. So what I found to be helpful was to write down everything I was afraid of. Just get it all out of my head and onto paper. And then I went through each fear and came up with a tangible action plan to overcome that fear. So for example, my fear of, well, I don't know anything about business ownership. Okay, well, what steps can I take to learn more? I can, read a book on business ownership. I can attend webinars on business ownership. So, like I said, it's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to kind of stay stuck in being afraid. Have an action plan to work through your fears so that as you work through them, you can become more confident as a business owner. Also, set boundaries between life and business. This is very important because when you first start your business, it can be very tempting to put all of your time and energy and attention into your business because it's new and it's exciting and you just want to give it everything that you have. However, if you start that way, it's hard to dial back from that and really set boundaries. For me, I have a home office and I do work in my home office, but I don't do work outside of it. So I set a very clear physical boundary between life and business, because what you don't want to happen is for your business to become so intertwined with your life that it ends up having a negative impact on you personally and the people around you. And here are some additional lessons about becoming a business owner. One, learn about business ownership, as I've said a few times, and it can be overwhelming to even know where to start with that. And that goes back to having a business coach. So a business coach can provide you with more focus and can help you identify what specific aspects of business ownership you need to know about for your specific business. So you don't have to go on a million Google searches to find out about business ownership. Just find out what you need to know for your specific business. Also, network. That never gets old. It's never unimportant. And that means networking with your colleagues and networking with clients. Because the more you stay in touch with your colleagues, the more you stay in touch with your clients, the more that you'll be top of mind. So, for example, if you continue to establish and maintain your relationships with your colleagues, they can refer you to really great clients, and that's actually happened with me several times. Also, if your clients are really happy with you, you've established a good relationship with them, they can refer you to other clients. And that's happened with me as well. So it's very important to be able to network with clients and colleagues and to maintain those relationships. And the last lesson is to learn how to say no. It can be very tempting, especially as you're starting out, to say yes to every project that comes your way because you just want to have work and you just want to be busy. However, saying yes to everything, one, means that your business probably isn't very focused because not every project that comes your way is a good fit. But also saying yes to everything, eventually you're going to burn out. And if you feel burnt out, that means you're probably going to also feel resentful. But you really don't have anyone to blame but yourself because you are the one who said yes to everything. So it's very important to be able to learn how to say no. So no to projects that, one, may not be able to fit on your plate just because you have a lot of other client work, or no to projects that simply aren't a good fit, that maybe you're not passionate about or you don't feel like you can do a very good job at. So being able to say no is a very important skill. And no is a complete sentence. So here are a few resources in case you're interested in business ownership in general or medical writing. The first resource here, score.org, is an excellent resource for small business owners. And what I like about SCORE is that you can actually find a business coach in your area and you can work with them for free. So every service that's provided through SCORE is free. So I think that's a really good resource for small business owners. And then amwa.org, wealth of information about medical writing. And they actually even have a section on there, I think it's called, a toolkit for new medical writers. So they have a really extensive section on medical writing and the different types of specialties within medical writing. And for more specifically for freelance medical writing, these are some resources that I found to be helpful. And these are all blogs on freelance writing. So you have the Freelancer's Year, the Mighty Marketer, which is more geared towards marketing as a freelancer, and finally, the Accidental Medical Writer, which is a monthly newsletter on freelance medical writing. And here's how you can contact me via email. Here is my website, and I'm also on LinkedIn. And if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please include a note with your request so that I will know that you listened to the presentation and I will know to connect with you. And that is all I have. So I am open to take questions, and I will stop the screen share now.
My name is Nubia. I'm just really glad to be here and to listen to your story and journey. And thank you for your transparency um, and letting everyone know the myriad options. Like this is another option for those who are journeying into veterinary medicine. And
Mhm.
every part of your story I found to be very, very much it resonated with me. I'm just glad to hear it. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Tasha. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Okay. Thank you
Yes.
so much for speaking, and thank you so much for your honesty. I was also wondering, do you allow any guest writers for your freelancing business? Or I know you said you write all of your articles.
Mhm. So I do not. I do know that there is one website, healthwriterhub.com. The host of that website is a health writer based in Australia, and she regularly has guest writers on her website. So maybe if I had a website where I was like posting blogs and those types of things, then it would make more sense for me to have a guest writer. But because of me just writing articles directly for clients, I don't have guest writers.
Okay, I was just curious because I'm a new veterinarian. I'm in my
Okay.
first year, and I also have an English minor from college, and I'm trying to like figure out how to incorporate the two. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate
Sure,
it.
sure. Well, I can say that, so a lot of my clients are websites that produce pet owner education content. And what some of my clients have told me was that they really appreciate having veterinarians who write the articles because it lends their content more credibility. So the fact that you are a veterinarian and that you have an English minor, is that
Yes.
it? Okay, so that means that you already have a strong background in writing. So you have the assets that they're looking for. So if you like, we can touch base
Yeah,
afterwards, and I can share with you some clients that I've been happy with that that may need some writers.
I would love that. Thank you.
Sure. Don't be
Hi.
shy. Okay.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Patton, and I'm a retiree, but I've worked with and coached many business owners in the past. And I'd just like to compliment you on your presentation and to say that it's 100% accurate in terms of what a new business owner would need in order to be successful. So thank you for this presentation.
Thank you for your feedback. It's good to know that I've learned that the right lessons along the way. Okay, so I see a question here in the chat. How early on did you realize that you were a good writer? I find it very intimidating. So I would say that's a good question. Um, my writing, I would say, as I was growing up, was more like I wrote in my journal quite a bit. So I don't know if I had like really strong writing skills in terms of, an academic setting. But fast forward into vet school during the fourth year, when of course we had to write our soaps and do all of that, I would get compliments on how well my soaps were written. So that kind of gave me some extra confidence that I had good writing skills. Okay, I'm not sure I understand this next question in the chat. I guess if you like, maybe we can set up a kind of another group call about pet owner education and the clients that I've worked with. I'm hoping that that answers your question.
Are there any other questions?
Oh, where can we find examples of your craft? Okay, so you can find samples of my writing on my website. I will go ahead and just type that into the chat. Oops. I also have a few samples of my writing on my LinkedIn profile, but also if you just Google my name, I'm pretty sure at least some of my articles will come up if you just Google my name.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely researched a lot of her articles, and there are a bunch that come up, so they're easy to find. And she has a nice portfolio on her website also.
Which I've been meaning to update for a while, but it's relatively recent.
I think for Dr. Johnson's question, did you? I think that it might be a good idea, honestly, if you guys wanted to hop on like Workplace one day and do like a room conversation. And that way, like a lot of the members can also listen in if they like. It'll be like informal, but that would be good.
Okay.
Info if you're open to it, but I think a lot of people would be interested.
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk with you later because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just need some instructions with you on how to set that up.
Yeah. And Dr. Johnson, like we can do that on Workplace, right? We can pop into a room. And Tashua, if you want to hop on to Workplace, we can get you set up for that. And that way everyone can listen. It's good to see you, Tashua.
It's good to see you too.
So,
do we have a separate time that we want to do this, or I guess we can just email and figure that out at some point?
Yeah, we'll work through it.
Okay.
And that way it'll be open. So, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people that have the same question as you, Tashua, or want to talk about the same things. And we'll save Dr. Pendergrass the trouble of doing it 4 times over, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I'm very happy to do that because when I started out, like I didn't even know there were other DVMs who were medical writers, and I just went on LinkedIn one day and I think just typed in like veterinarians, medical writers, and came across a few people and I connected with them. So it helped me feel less alone that there were other vets who were doing what I was doing, like it wasn't just me. So I feel like it's very important for me now that I've become more established to share this information with others.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you were able to share this with us.
Yes.
Did anyone else have questions or comments, anything like that? Well, if not, okay. Sharon made a comment about starting a new business and that this was informative. So I'm glad that it helped.
That's great, Sharon. It's so exciting, even though it's very intimidating at first, but now that I've been self-employed and being a business owner, it's definitely giving me new confidence, new leadership skills. So I think it's great to be a business owner.
Oh, it looks like there is another question
Yes.
from Mackenzie. It says, do you think, she says, thank you for an awesome presentation. Do you think there is a lot of opportunity in the medical writing field for DVMs?
I won't say it's a tough question, but I think the answer is yes, because as DVMs, it's a terminal degree, and by the very fact that we have a DVM shows that we have very strong scientific and medical background. So we bring a lot to the table, even though we're coming from animal health. And a lot of medical writing is in human health. And I remember as I was, I think, starting out as a medical writer, I had a conversation with a veterinarian who was a science writer. And it was like it was like a Debbie Downer conversation. I don't know if she was bitter, um, but she was like, there's no money in animal health writing. That essentially I should focus my business. I should focus on human health. So I think that's why when I started my business, I started offering the Medcom agency services because I assumed that there wasn't any money in animal health, that it was all in human health. But I think as a veterinarian, I think because there's so much translation in between veterinary medicine and human medicine that we can write equally well on both sides. So from that perspective, I think there is a lot of opportunity for DVMs in medical writing. For me, I've just found that writing in animal health is the better fit because that's where my training was. But that doesn't mean that as a DVM, you can't be successful writing in human health as a medical writer. Okay. All right, so I see a question from Dr. Johnson. How did you vet your business coach? Qualifications you looked for? So I will be honest, I did not vet my business coach because he was referred to me from a colleague who I admired and respected. I don't think I felt a need to do the vetting because I trusted her. I trusted her advice. I trusted her referral, and I knew that she wouldn't refer me to someone who would not be a good fit, who would not be a good coach. So I think in general, like say you wanted to find a business coach like through SCORE or maybe another resource, I think it would be important to vet a business coach. And because I didn't do it, I don't really have a lot of pointers for that, but I would say to find a business coach that has experience in the field that you want to have your business in. So my business coach had experience as a medical writer, so he understood that field. So I think at the very least, find a business coach who has experience and knowledge in the field that you would like to start your business in. But also, your coach should be someone that you can connect with on a personal level as opposed to just a business level. You want it to be someone that you can just talk to casually, and it's not just all business. So I think it's good to be able to connect on a personal level as well with a business coach. You're welcome, Dr. Johnson.
Awesome. Well, if there aren't any other questions, then we will let Dr. Pendergrass go. But I think that this was an amazing presentation, so much information, and, it overlaps in so many different ways, even outside of the medical writing field. There's so many things that we can do with this information. So thank you again for taking the time to
Sure.
speak with us and get involved. If you guys have, any other questions or want to reach out, she put up her information. You can always reach out to me for questions that are about Black DVM Network. Any medical writing questions, have to go to Dr. Pendergrass. But thank you guys so much for coming. I see that there are a couple messages in here, so I'm going to stay on and answer these. But for everyone else, feel free to hang out or log off, whatever you guys want to do. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us tonight.